everyone, this is Eugene Roddenberry.
Dr. Mohammed Noor.
Adam Nimoy, Leonard Nimoy's son.
This is Leonard Crowfoot.
This is Dr. Aaron McDonald, Star Trek Science Advisor and Lieutenant Commander McDonald on Star Trek Prodigy.
And you're listening to
Humanist Trek.
Humanist Trek.
You're listening to Humanist Trek.
the Humanist Trek podcast.
And you're listening to Humanist Trek, a fabulous, fabulous show.
Enjoy.
And don't worry, you can do your Temporal Mechanics 101 homework later.
Even with his chorus, he could not have changed their attitudes in a day. So they're going to take as much time as they need to sit down and fucking learn sign language. Do you know, that's pretty hard, but
yeah,
go for it.
I've been trying to babble some Spanish and I'm failing spectacularly.
Yo hablo un poco español.
No. No, lo siento.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Welcome aboard.
Jean-Luc Picard to the Starship Enterprise.
You want to review your rapid progress?
That nonsense is centuries behind us. To the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, yeah?
And it's enough, damn it!
Tempo, mon capitan.
To the Starship Enterprise.
But you can't deny that you're still a dangerous, savage child race.
Of the planet Earth.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
And welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a comedy Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And right now, Allie, I am like bacheloretting it up in the house. Becca is in Chicago right now.
Uh-oh. Party at Sarah's house.
Yeah, right. I've been a long time since I've been old enough for partying. And I have my daughter. So Becca took our son to Chicago for the American Humanist Association's annual convention, which is happening right now. As we record, she's been calling and checking in with me and telling me hi from all the people I love.
Aw.
So I'm really kind of, I'm missing being there and being a part of it because I feel like those kinds of events help get me re-energized and refocused to get back out there and like fight against the Christian nationalist fascist authoritarian sect that's taken over our government.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to like just get beat down and like feel defeated and exhausted. And then sometimes it's good to like get back together with your people and have a weekend where, yeah, we're talking about the issues but we're getting like, there's a rest and a reset that happens at those that get you kind of ready to go back out there and fight some more.
Yeah. The exhaustion is real though, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just how many times are we going to have to get out in the hot sun and hit the pavement and make our voice known and our presence known? And so we had our, the whole No King's Day.
Oh, yes.
Like a few weeks ago. Was it a few weeks ago? At time of recording.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not go to those because I knew that the very next day I was going to go to our Juneteenth celebration in Denver because they had it on the same weekend. But I did like sort of watch on social media, like all the cities, like, and all of the drone footage of all of those people, like, and then nobody showing up to the parade,
That was great. Oh, so yummy.
Kim Jong-un's Jr.'s parade. No one showed up, but everyone showed up to protest No King's Day, and not just in the U.S. There were some other countries that actually, like, people are pissed everywhere, and they don't want this.
There's a lot of solidarity out in the world with us, we the people who are completely against what's happening.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, when the United States sneezes, the world gets a cold, right? That's the saying. But like what happens here has a huge effect on the whole world.
Right. And it was good to see. It was energizing to see. And then I went to our Juneteenth music festival, and that was really cool just to be around so many people. Man, Denver is so black. I mean, I moved here and I thought, man, Denver's so white. No, Denver is really black.
Awesome.
Aurora is black. Denver is very much the coolest, the whitest black black city that I've lived in, and it's sure we all have some problems, but
Sure.
I love it here. And they make a point to have these different celebrations for all these different cultures, and they make a point to embrace everybody, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the guys that I work with is Filipino,
Mhm.
and so he and his husband do like all kinds of cultural events, like you say, that happen,
Yeah.
all over the metro area, and they go and do historical cultural dance from the Philippines.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yes. Oh, they're so good. So good. I haven't seen them in person yet, but don't tell him I'm just going to show up at one of these and surprise him.
I love it.
Because I love him. He's the best. He really is. But all of these things, I feel like, the common thread here is those of us who are pro-democracy, trying to claw back some semblance of our autonomy, of our power within our own system,
Mm-hmm.
that's been taken over by a few, by a rich few, by a
Mhm.
powerful few. And that's our disadvantage. They have the power. They have, corporations are buying laws like
Mhm.
off the shelf, picking up the Windows 95 box of whatever law they want and whipping out the corporate card. That happens on a daily basis in this country. And so it's easy to feel like we are the weaker group.
Right.
That's our disadvantage, that we're weaker.
And then nobody's listening to us.
Mm-hmm. Right. But here's the advantage from that disadvantage. We are more. We outnumber them greatly. Yeah, they've got power, they've got money, but there's more of us. And if it came down to it,
Yeah.
there's more of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's our power, and that's what we need to remember. And that's why you got to get out and fucking vote, even if you don't like Bernie, or even if you don't like Hillary, or even if you don't like Joe. Like, we got to quit finding ways to divide and disagree and, well, I'm not going to vote for that or whatever, and just go vote. Go vote. So many people stay home. Go vote. Anyway, I say that's how we take our disadvantage and turn it to an advantage, like we do this week on Star Trek The Next Generation. It's Season 2, Episode 5, Loud as a Whisper.
Commander, you'll soon be getting an intruder alert.
What? Is that something, sir?
Intruder alert, sir.
It's an old-style starship, sir. Constellation class, heading this way under impulse com.
Number one, kindly take charge of our guests until we have time to decide what we're going to do with them. Sir, number one, keep them out of my way.
Allie, this is one of my favorite Star Trek setups, everybody knows it. We've got two societies that just struggle bussing to live together in harmony. So the D is headed to deliver a mediator. And this time, though, they're just the Uber. Picard's not the mediator. We're bringing someone along to do that mediation.
So they're going to the Ramada star system to pick up their Uber fare.
So they're stopping at the Ramada. Riker finds Picard in the ready room doing that thing that you do when there's something you just can't figure out. And it doesn't really have anything to do with you or your job or anything relevant. It's just some puzzle that gets stuck in your head, and you cannot let it go until you figure out that puzzle.
I love that they do this little holographic thing. I think they've done it a couple of times maybe. But so Picard is looking at this solar system where this one planet has this weird orbit. And it is a weird orbit. It's not a circular orbit. It's like a squiggly line orbit. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
Oh, wait. I know how to explain it. Do you know those toys? They're a little handheld electric thing with a battery or whatever, and it has the string. And when you push the thing, the string spins.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's what that orbit looks like.
Yeah, he's just fixated on he's puzzling over it, and I don't even know what this scene has to do with anything, to be honest.
Doesn't have to do nothing with nothing. Nope. But there's no time for this anyway because we have arrived at the Ramada.
So back on the bridge, they go into standard orbit. Picard gives Data the bridge, and I love it when Data just sits in the chair. And then off they go into the turbolift, headed to the transporter.
We have another conversation where Riker reminds us about the deal they made in the very first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. The captain isn't just going to go beaming down every week. Riker's like, I don't know that I feel safe with you beaming down into this thing. And Picard's like, it's not so much an away mission as it is a ceremonial function. You know, shaking hands, kissing babies. This will be no big deal. But he does. This was so much fun. He starts poking back at Riker and calls him a mother hen.
He says, cluck, cluck, cluck.
Cluck.
Cluck, cluck, number one.
So good.
So they're just basically, like you said, and as Riker says, we're not the police, which normally they play the police.
Mm-hmm. I love how this, like, the relationships are really gelling right now. And like, I'm loving it. Like, this is the playful banter kind of thing that I like to see. This is a friendship now, that it's not just a workplace, situation.
Yeah. So Picard mentions as they go to the transporter room that they're there to pick up the best mediator in the galaxy, and that this person's name is Riva. And Picard's like, well, if he's that good, we're going to do everything in our power to assist him. Hey, and then O'Brien's in the transporter room.
Yay!
Yay, O'Brien.
Love O'Brien. Worf, Troy, and O'Brien are all in there when Picard and Riker arrive. And I don't know what the mind reading protocol is on this ship or in Starfleet HR, but I'm pretty sure what's happening here is a violation of consent in some way, because Troy has been up in Worf's emotions. And she is like grilling him about it. She's like, you only get like this when you're expecting to do battle. Like, I really feel a lot of strong emotion from you. Can she just like go up in your in your feels whenever she wants?
Apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And Worf. So Worf is apprehensive about meeting Riva, I guess. And I don't exactly know what the issue is, but all he said was that before him, there was no Klingon word for peacemaker. And for some reason that makes him uncomfortable.
So Picard, Worf, and Troy beam down into an ornate room, except for that basic ass Home Depot light fixture. Did you see that hanging from the ceiling?
No.
Oh, it's totally a model you could go get probably right now at Home Depot. It was good.
It's empty. There's nobody there. So there's no reception or anything.
This has got to be like the worst throw to theme that they've done yet, because it seems like they're trying to build up a little suspense because it's a ghost town. There's nobody there. But something about the way it came out on screen just did not sell it to me at all. Maybe it needed a stronger music sting or another line of dialogue or something, but it really felt like they were trying to build up this, it's empty, it's scary, but it was just weak.
I'm still a little uncomfortable with your leading this away team. You will be careful, sir. Oh, cluck, 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 number one. Sir, you're being a mother hen.
Riker calls down to check in, still henpecking. I'm calling to make sure you got home safe or whatever.
Mom! you know you're supposed to call when you get home,
And then Worf calls to their attention the approach of a red-haired man, bearded face, wearing these white and gray Jedi robes. And he comes to each one of them, looking directly in the eyes. First Worf, then Picard, finally Troy, but he doesn't speak a word. And this is Riva, who's played by Howie Seago, who is himself actually deaf from birth.
Mm-hmm.
He has gone on to not only act, but also direct and produce. And reportedly, this episode was his idea.
Yep.
He didn't get any story credit or writing credits from what I could tell. But I read that like he petitioned the producers to do a story about deaf people.
Yep.
Which is great.
That's amazing. I will say I do love the costumes of Riva and his chorus, and dude, the hair. Okay,
Of course.
the 80s, the 80s hair and the beard. Yeah, he was okay. He was kind of fine.
Riva walks over to this step platform thing, and Picard's about to start in on his, I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise. We come in peace with a 4.5-star Uber rating or whatever. But Riva holds up his hand to stop him as these three others enter the room, a woman and two men, all in white attire. And I thought this was a great visual piece of it too. Each of their outfits pulls from something of his outfit. So they each have a bit of his sort of design built into their own. I thought that was fun.
Like they're a part of him.
Yeah. The woman in the center speaks. She invites them closer and offers refreshments. This is, of course, as we now know, Marnie Mosselman, whose husband is John Delancey.
Yeah, we got that wrong.
God damn, we got that wrong. I should have known that. I should have known that.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Marnie has played on Dallas, Hill Street Blues, ABC After School Specials, Dragnet, and in my era of TV, she appeared on Beverly Hills 90210, The Bold and the Beautiful, Picket Fences, Days of Our Lives. She was on everything. She's great.
That's probably where she met John Delancey, was on Days of Our Lives, because he was on there. I don't know their history, but they were both on there.
Picard declines refreshments and introduces his team, and sort of one by one, the chorus welcomes them to the Ramada. And then Riva notices that Troy is empathic. And so he walks back over to her while the three others take their places up on the riser. Riva, through one of the male interpreters, says, then clearly you already know what's going on under these robes, but let me just say it. I'm pointing forward to this even more now. He's interested in being in her company, if you know what I mean.
And she's flattered, and she seems like she is too.
Then there's something I think unique and spectacular that happens in this scene, and it is unquestionably the influence of telling this story from the deaf community, trying to correct misunderstandings and educate people about interacting with deaf folks. As Picard is untying the knot about how this whole communication works with Riva and his chorus, he speaks to the translators, and for a moment, they speak for themselves. And here we learn that this was the way of communicating that they've developed over centuries because Riva is deaf. And these three translators speak for him, each representing a different aspect of him, but not just his thoughts, the emotional intent too.
So they have the scholar. I don't know that we know their names, but we know their aspect of his, personality. So they have the scholar. He represents the intellect and talks about matters of judgment, philosophy, and logic. He tends to go on and on. He's the poet. But then we have the warrior, who's the good-looking guy who tends to flirt. He's the passion and the libido. He's the anarchy of lust, the romantic, and the lover.
Oh my. And when the lover is doing his poetic recitation of whatever it is he's all about, you may have noticed Riva is totally undressing Troy with his eyes during this.
Honestly, Riva, the actor, Howie, he did some great face acting. I mean, just amazing. And then we have the female. She, of course, as the female, binds everyone together. She's harmony, wisdom, and balance.
The scholar is played by Randy Oglesby, who we will see again in several Star Treks.
Yep.
And the lover warrior is played by Leo Damian, who didn't have a ton of credits. After this, he appeared on an episode of Murder, She Wrote, and some other things. And of course, Marnie plays Harmony. But when Picard continues speaking to the translators, Riva becomes angered and demands that Picard speak to him. And this is the moment. This is something I know a lot of people get wrong.
Yeah.
It's tempting to want to speak to the interpreter,
Yes.
rather than the person they're interpreting. And Picard has made that mistake here. And when Riva calls him on it, he assures him, like, I didn't mean any insult by it. And while he doesn't promise out loud not to do that again, to be better, he demonstrates it by not making that mistake again the rest of this episode.
Right.
And that's how you do it.
Right.
What a great example for people to learn from, which we know was a big driver of this story. But again, like you said, for its time in the 80s, super forward.
But yeah, and it's a really small moment, but it's huge.
It's like, that's what Pulaski should have done when she dead named Data or whatever, and he corrected her in the pronunciation, and she was instead not like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any offense, and then change her behavior. She was like, it's about me. I'm so, like, first of all, who gives a shit how I pronounce it? And second,
it's so hard for me. It's so hard for me. And immediately, the red flag here is anytime you tell someone that, hey, you're offending me, you're hurting my feelings, and they make it about them, that's the red flag.
Anyway, Pulaski should have been watching this scene, I guess. Picard just wants to know more about this method of communication, and this is where we learn that these interpreters are called Riva's chorus. And because his lineage simply lacks a gene for hearing, the ancestors of this chorus have provided the same service to his ancestors going back centuries. So I love that they made it, it wasn't an accident or something that terrible that befell this poor man who then became deaf, that he was born this way, and that's a common thing where he's from, and it's not a big deal.
And society adjusted.
Yeah.
They fucking adjusted.
Yep.
And the way that this is such a normal thing for them, like his chorus is so attuned to they can hear his thoughts, and then they can translate them to other people.
Troy remarks that this is an elegant and beautiful way of communicating, and I absolutely agree. But this prompts the lover to speak again, and she notices aloud that this side of Riva doesn't speak very often. And Riva steps like closer and closer to her and says, only when the spirit moves me.
Ooh.
But Picard cockblocks here because we've got a mission to get started, so we got to beam back up to the D. So Worf calls for Seven to beam up.
Remarkable. And so the
Speak to me!
What?
Speak directly to me.
This unique form of presentation provoked this inadvertent breach in protocol. No insult was intended.
Then none is perceived.
Once they've beamed up, then off they go to Solaris 5. And suddenly they've got all these people on the bridge now, Riva and his chorus. And Riker's like, what the fuck is this? Why are all these people on?
Didn't we learn anything from Charlie X? Come on.
But Picard explains that Riva is deaf, and these 3 people are speaking for him and treat them as interpreters. And he makes sure to tell Riker, don't make the same mistake I did.
Yeah.
Address Riva directly. And so Picard introduces everyone.
Man, I love this so much.
Me too. First, he introduces Riker, and Riva puts his hand like on his chest. And then he introduces Commander Data, and Riva goes to put his hand on Data's chest, but he can't find anything, I guess. But he doesn't make a big deal out of the difference. He's like, what a unique individual. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
And then he introduces LaForge.
Another unique individual.
Yeah, and this time he puts his hands like on the either side of his head where his visor is. And he's very curious about the visor, which LaForge explains that it interprets the electromagnetic spectrum and then carries the readings to his brain.
Brain! What is brain?
So without it, he can't see. And LaForge's like, yep, without it, I'm blind as a stump. And then it kind of serves as his chorus in a way, and so that they have in common.
Riva asks Geordi if he resents this. The visor, blind, both, whatever. And Geordi says, no, this is who I am and I like who I am. So why would I have any resentment?
Mm-hmm.
Just such great writing already here.
Agree.
Riva's like, well, what's your job? What do you do here? And Geordi's like, I'm the chief engineer.
Bitch.
Which really delights Riva. Riva's like, oh, that's fucking awesome. Like, you know, a person like me who's special in this way.
Yeah.
Kicking ass and taking names. Look at us.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at us. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like whenever I see a Black person in power or in an authority position or in science or doing anything, or even on Star Trek, but like TOS anyway. That's why I was like, yes, representation.
Yeah. Yes. And what I love about this is Geordi is just as excited for this idea of it being special and different, and that makes us special and different.
Mm-hmm.
It connects so deeply for Geordi that like both he and Riva excitedly place their hands on each other's chests. Like I felt that like
I see you.
That was more of a hug. That was more of a yeah. Our hearts are connected. They were very excited for whatever that exchange was. We don't know if there's some like telepathy thing going on with his hands or whatever.
Speaking of his hands, Picard says, I'm offering you the hospitality of my vessel, and I've got your quarters ready for you and your chorus. And his warrior flirty interpreter asks if Troy can escort us to the cabin. And she's like, okay.
I think this is the first time we see him do this in this episode, but here he signs a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
As he's like asking if Troy can be his escort or whatever. So I wonder if like there had to have been some discussions about whether there would be any signing at all, or how much to use and where to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we've come a long way already, and the chorus has done all the heavy lifting. I thought it was just strange to not either have him sign the whole time, or not at all, or something. Like, I don't know. I don't know why the decision. I'm curious.
This is also interesting. So the warrior interpreter and Riva leave with Troy, and they're separated from the rest of the chorus. And Riker's like, what about you? You're not going? Four is a crowd, I guess. A foursome? No, it would be a fivesome. She's like, at times like this, it's probably more of an encumbrance.
Yeah, we kind of get in the way.
Yeah.
And in Riva's quarters, he starts laying down the charm right away, talking about how their work is so similar. You know, we help people examine feelings hidden deep within their psyche. And Riva's like, in fact, you're provoking an emotional revelation under my robes right now.
Oh my.
He's like, me, dinner, huh? How's that sound? She like nods to the lover interpreter guy and is like, is he gonna come?
And then he says, well, at least until we find our own method of communication. I mean, he's confident.
Oh, yes.
I like that, you know.
Yeah. Riva says eventually we'll find a way to communicate without the interpreter. And Troy's like, okay, because I'll try anything twice, but I'm not used to having a third in the bedroom.
In the observation lounge, they're all there, and Data is basically in charge of the briefing to talk about why these two factions of Solus 5 are even fighting in the first place. They've been fighting for a long time, to the point where whatever they're fighting over, they don't even know anymore. It's now become personal.
Oh, can you think of examples present day of two places that have been warring for decades?
So long.
And
now it's Riva kind of says, yeah, whatever. I've done this before. He's like, they probably have a conflict over a piece of land or wealth or some other tangible asset. We both know that it's personal. And so the basis of peace has to be personal as well. But he also thinks since they've been warring for 15 centuries, what's changed now to make them want to even invite a mediator? So there's something that must have changed.
I wonder if we'll actually learn what that is in this episode.
As Sarah and I both shake our heads.
It's an audio medium, Sarah. He is super confident in his abilities, though, and rightly so, because he's never failed.
Right.
This does give him a bit of like an egotistical kind of vibe, too.
But super, super confident, and that is fucking attractive. I'm not going to lie.
Data doesn't hardly get anywhere in this briefing before Riva like does the Midwest knee slap. Like, well, this has been great, guys, but I have a date to get to. And he and the interpreters are already in the hallway with the door closing as Picard's like, yeah, I'm meeting adjourn, I guess. Quick cut to the bridge as we arrive at Soleus 5 and drop out of warp. And then we're in quarters where Riva and Troy enjoy a candlelit dinner with the lover slightly behind him and in the shadows. And this scene is just dripping innuendo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Riva's like talking about the feeling of the ship moving through his body like a great pulse, like the pulsing under his robes. And Troy's like, oh, well, I'm here all the time. I guess I just kind of got used to it. And he's like, yeah, well, sometimes you just have to let the surroundings flow over you, allow it to fill you.
Oh my.
And then the interpreter or the warrior, he is like, okay, I'm out. And he just quietly exits the room. But then Troy's like, oh no, how do we communicate now?
And he's like, with my tongue.
So she says, well, I know you can read lips, but I need your words. And then that's when he really starts in on the sign language.
Mm-hmm.
So he only uses sign language, I guess, with her or when he doesn't have his chorus with him at all.
So he starts signing, and Troy is working out the meaning as they go. Basically, that words themselves aren't as important as the meaning and emotion that underlie them. Up on the bridge, it seems the ceasefire has already been broken. Does that sound familiar? As they detect laser fire on the surface.
Ceasefire? What ceasefire?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll end the whole conflict by midnight tonight because we're the greatest country in the world. It'll be over.
And Picard does just that. He's like, look, y'all, this is Captain Picard. Y'all need to stop fighting. Otherwise, I will abort this mission if you continue to violate your ceasefire. Not being the police and all. But yeah, he does threaten to, abort the mission of bringing the mediator down.
Unfortunately, part of this deal was that in their contract, they will only speak with Riva. So that means we got to end the dinner date early. And Riva and his chorus arrive on the bridge, and they get everyone back on Skype. And these aliens have a lot of ham on their heads.
Man, they look rough.
Yeah.
I mean, rough.
This is a very like Star Trek, the original series Monster of the Week kind of look.
Totally.
Riva speaks to them, signing as he goes, recognizing their bravery as fighters, but convincing them to demonstrate courage in a new way. Stop fighting, put down your swords, let's have a meeting. And this seemingly magically, miraculously works. They stop shooting.
So I guess they've hung up and they are now planning on the meeting. And they bring up a map so that Riva can figure out where to have the meeting.
Worf wants to take a squad, but Riva's like, you're not going to need that. You cannot bring your goons down here. That's not what we're doing. That'll just fucking make things worse.
Even Riker thinks it's a good idea to take a squad.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not being the police and all.
Right. The mediator is saying, listen, I can get these two people to stop their shit, but it's going to be harder if the cops get called.
Right. So Picard's like, fine. And yeah, beam us down to that hilltop and let's get this party started.
And you don't resent it?
The visor or being blind?
Either.
No, since they're both a part of me and I really like who I am, there's no reason for me to resent either one.
After all that talk, they're in the transporter room, and Riker's like, phasers on stun. And then again, Riva says, you don't need those.
At this point, I thought, what happened to, this isn't our mission, we're just the Uber driver?
You know, America, gotta have control. You know.
Yeah, why are we even beaming down at all?
Yes, I let Riva go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but they didn't.
We're just the driver.
Yeah.
Well, they beam into this cliff-looking area, which I don't think looked all that much like the topographical map that we saw on the D, but it looks like someone built a Stonehenge inside of some bombed out like cave area or something. Like it was open on the top, you know, like it had been bombed out. And then there was this Stonehenge on the inside. I thought that was fun.
Riva seems to like the area. He wants some torches and shit. And so Riker has to be like the event coordinator and call up to engineering and ask for some torches.
Hey, Jordy, can you run down to the Home Depot and get us some tiki torches and maybe a couple of lawn chairs? Yeah, right.
And a table. And he needs a 3-sided table made of some indigenous rock.
Riva explains that this negotiation is probably going to take some time. This is not a quick fix. And as the emissaries of each faction arrive, he tells the Starfleets to like, hey, stay calm, like telling the cops, keep your hands off your pistol, stay calm, and even if they provoke you, do not respond. Because the first few minutes of this thing are going to be kind of dicey.
Yeah.
So 2 men from the first faction arrive, and because there's a lot of numbers used in the credits, there's like Man 1, Man 2, Alien 3, Alien 4, or whatever, and the factions aren't named, we're going to call these guys the Jets.
And the Sharks.
This one has a weapon in hand, and shortly 2 others from the Sharks arrive also with heaters, and Riva starts in on the, trying to talk them into peace talks. But one of the Sharks goes rogue and starts yelling, "No, never!" as he licks off some shots with his heater.
Riker grabs Riva, pulls him to the side to protect him. But unfortunately, with the shot that went off, it hits the chorus. And you see the I don't know where they got these graphics from, but
I love this.
It singes them to, then you see their bloody skeletons, and then they're gone.
Oh my god! They've killed
My chorus.
you, bastards!
This reminded me of that effect from the one where the admirals had all been taken over by those by those bugs, and they blew away. What's his name?
Yep. Remick?
I think that's phaser on kill Viz effect, but these guys were talking about they only have lasers. And canonically, we know historically, lasers were like the weapon before phasers.
Right.
And they're like super weak sauce.
Apparently not.
Anyway, the leader of the Sharks obliterates his subordinate for turning on him and trying to assassinate Riva. And he like holds up his hands, police stop style. And he's like, that dude does not speak for me. I speak for my people, and I do want peace.
But too late, the damage is done, and they get Riva the fuck out of there.
Yeah, this emergency beam out was good. And they were like holding him back. Did you notice that?
Riva, he wanted to stay.
It seemed like he was fighting to get out of their grip or whatever.
And it could have been, he's upset that his chorus is gone, It could have been that, but then the aliens are like, "Wait, we need you." But you just fucking killed his people.
Back on the D, Riva is raging in Sign in the conference room when Picard arrives, and this scene is uncomfortable in all the right ways.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly know what it's like to not be able to understand someone else, whether it's someone who signs or someone who speaks a language that I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure for many people, this resonates the other side of that, the struggle of being the one who isn't being understood and both desperately trying to communicate. I think this makes you feel wrong in all the right ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And Picard is trying his best to understand him.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Can't you write it out? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your friends were killed." And he does take his head in his hands and says, I'm trying to make you understand. Like, listen to me. You're not alone, because I know you feel really alone right now." So that was pretty powerful.
I thought it was interesting that when Picard says, "You're not alone, we're all in this together." We're all in this together. No. High School Musical.
Oh, didn't see it. And that's okay.
Picard tells him we're not alone and we're all in this together, and that calms Riva down. But Picard is doing like his own kind of rudimentary signing,
Yeah.
which I thought was an interesting choice.
Yeah, there's for together. When he said we're all in this together, he clasped his hand.
Something like that.
That's some things you get from like intention and emotion.
Yeah. And I love that it shows that Picard is trying to, adopt a different way, a different approach at trying to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't like that he grabbed him by the head and yelled at him.
Yeah.
Speaking louder to a deaf person is not going to help them hear you. That's something a lot of people fall into a trap of too.
True. That's true. Humans suck.
I know.
I'm sorry. I don't know what you are trying to tell me. We have to find some way to communicate with him.
Fighting has not only resumed on the planet, but it's escalating. And up on the bridge, Data has ruled out all but 5 signing languages in the computer and decides to just learn all 5.
He does his like quick learning thing where he's looking at the computer and he's like, faster, faster. And then his eyes are, he's taking all that information in. He can be quite handy in these situations.
Yeah, no shit. Worf thinks that this method of communicating with sign is kind of new to him, and he's like, that would be very useful to a warrior class player like myself, and it's silent and covert. What a great way to communicate in battle. Troy and Pulaski drop by the ready room to report to Picard. Troy's report is that for the first time in his life, Riva isn't in control. He doesn't have the answers, and that's frightening. And Pulaski doesn't have any medical solutions, so right on time, Data comes in, ready to demonstrate what he's learned, which provides a wonderful comic relief moment as Data's like, look at all the sign language I learned. This is blue. This is a blue ocean. This is a man in a boat on a blue ocean. It just goes on and on.
And he's like, that's fine. Let's go talk to Riva.
So they find Riva in the conference room, and Data starts interpreting. Riva's feeling a deep loss, not just of his interpreters, not just his friends, but a deeply connected part of himself. He blames his arrogance for the deaths of his chorus. Both sides are still willing to talk peace, but now Riva's confidence is shot and he's refusing. And they keep trying to talk him into this. Troy's like, well, maybe this tragedy could be the catalyst that brings the Jets and the Sharks together.
Don't let the death of your chorus, be in vain, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do to guilt him into being in a mediator.
Please finish this mission. Yeah.
Right.
Picard's like, what if Data was your interpreter? But Data can only interpret the words, not the emotion. And that's the important part in these negotiations. So Riva continues to refuse. He's like, I'm not going to do it. Take me home. And Picard's like, well, all right, but a lot more people are going to die. And Riva just angrily storms out of the room.
They cut to sickbay where Geordi is just getting the normal checkup on his implants.
Did you have deja vu in this scene?
Yes, because he already had this conversation with Crusher on day 1 of episode 1.
Yeah, so this must be his annual checkup.
Yeah. And Pulaski's like, and I remember Crusher saying, there's nothing I can do.
Yep. She offered, I went back. She offered painkillers for the headaches, or we could try some exploratory surgery, not to give you different vision, but to desensitize the areas of the brain that cause that pain that you're having.
According to Pulaski, she's done some stuff like this before. So she's saying that we can install an optical device which looks like a normal eye and would still give you about the same visual range as the visor. 20% reduction though in his vision. She could, as another option, attempt to regenerate his optic nerve and with the help of a replicator fashion normal eyes, and then you can see like everybody else. But he's like, wait a second. Crusher said that was impossible. No, he didn't say Crusher, but Pulaski has done it twice apparently. Slightly different situations than his, but she's done it twice. But it would eliminate the pain that he's under all the time.
But this procedure is irreversible and there's a lot of risks. So this gives Geordi a lot to think about. But he's just like in shock. He's like, Doc, I came down here for my routine vision exam, EJLH03 or whatever, you know. I came down here just to do my physical, and now you're telling me I could have brand new eyes? Like, he's shocked.
Yeah.
Back in Riva's quarters, Troy and Data arrive to make one last attempt to get Riva to do this negotiation. And not remembering this episode very clearly, I thought maybe the pitch was going to be, hey, what if Data is your voice and Troy is your emotions? What if they're the new chorus? That's where I thought we were going. Instead, they do this by Troy suggesting that Picard is going to let her be the one to negotiate it. And she's like, look at me. I don't have the first fucking clue about peace negotiations. You gotta help me. So he starts talking about his approach in situations like this. Yes, the chorus allowed him to combine different perspectives, but essentially the secret sauce here is to find something that both groups have in common, no matter how small or seemingly meaningless, just anything that might connect them in some way. And I thought that was a really great insight into managing differences.
Yeah.
Between people, between groups of people.
Or you could just go bomb one of them just to say, hey, I told you to stop. And I'm gonna bomb you if you don't. But no, he's like, and this is where we kind of started at the beginning of the episode. The real secret, his secret is to turn disadvantage into an advantage.
Troy lights him the fuck up. She's like, fine, why don't you turn your disadvantage into an advantage then? And this is a turning point. Riva thinks this might be the thing both sides will have in common, something that could unite them. Him turning his disadvantage into an advantage.
He's like, hey, you're right. So he kisses Troy on the cheek and he thanks Data, and he's ready to go back down to the planet and try this again.
This is another great vaudevillian moment of Data levity here. When Riva signs thank you to Data, and at first Data's like, thank you, like as interpreting it. Thank you. And then he realizes he was talking to Data. Oh, thank me.
The real secret is turning disadvantage into advantage.
Why can't you do that? Why can't you turn your disadvantage into an advantage?
In the transporter room, here they go again. O'Brien is about to beam them all down again. And Riker says, stay sharp. Again, he's ready to shoot. Set phases on stun. And then off they go, down to the same hilltop.
So Riker, Worf, Data, Troy, and Riva are the away team that are returning now. And they do, some sort of kind of sweep the area to make sure there's no hostiles nearby. Then they have the triangular table and tiki torches beamed down. And Riva has the torches lit to signal that he has returned. But it may be a while before those guys come back. So he tells Riker, you're welcome to go anytime you want. I'm good. I can wait here for these people. Y'all don't need to hang out. And Riker doesn't understand how this is all going to work. Riva can't communicate without his chorus and all. And the plan is that Riva is going to teach them to sign. And in the course of learning how to communicate with him, the Jets and the Sharks will also be learning how to communicate with each other.
Yeah. Right. But whatever.
You gotta believe, Hallie.
And he says, they've been fighting all their lives and they only know hatred and suspicion. Even with his chorus, he could not have changed their attitudes in a day. So they're gonna take as much time as they need to sit down and fucking learn sign language. That's pretty hard, but
Yeah.
go for it.
I've been
I
trying
think
to
it's
babble some Spanish and I'm failing spectacularly.
Yo hablo un poco español. It's
No. No. Lo siento.
And I love that. Yeah, he's planning to take however long it needs to take to get this piece to happen.
Riker's not sure about leaving him here by himself, and Riva's like, seriously, I'm good. I got this. I'll be fine. And he says a special thank you to Troy for everything. Wink.
Yep.
But she found a way to give him his confidence back. He's starting to get back to his old self. So they beam out, leaving Riva alone at the table to wait for the emissaries. Before we go off to the next adventure, Troy finds Picard in his ready room, studying that wonky planetary orbit again from the top of this episode. And he's called her here because while he knows she can sense how he feels about her and her job performance, he wanted her to hear the words, "Thank you. Well done." Now, off to the next adventure.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'll be glad to be relieved of this cargo.
Me too.
It is done, and perhaps just as well.
Yeah, but I learned something today.
I sincerely hope that this is the last time that I find myself here.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? You see, of all the species, yours cannot abide stagnation. Change is at the heart of what you are. That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
I love this episode.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
I love the way they connected Riva's deafness and Geordi's blindness in a way that like instantly bonded them. And I only wish that relationship had more to do in the rest of the episode. Like maybe Geordi could have been the one to come by his room at the end and talk him back into doing this negotiation.
Yeah.
Like one special person to another unique person, like, come on, man, you got to get back in there and you can't let this get you down. That would have been neat.
But they had to have that sexual tension between,
Did they?
Troy and Riva. Yeah.
Did they?
Because it's Star Trek. Yes, they did.
But the idea that these men's differences makes them special in a positive, not negative way.
Yeah.
Like so much so that when Pulaski tells Geordi about this new procedure that could give him quote unquote normal vision, he's like, I'd be giving up so much.
Yeah.
Right? It's seen as an advantage in a way, not a disadvantage.
Yeah, he has truly made his disadvantage, or what we think is a disadvantage, into an
Right.
advantage. It's only a disadvantage because everyone else around him is different.
Yeah, the world is not designed for him. It is designed for the sighted. And
Yeah.
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 And the hearing and the able-bodied and.
Yeah. I did think, like, initially, well, I don't know if this is the right place to say this, but like initially Riva was very, like I said, he was very confident, almost arrogant,
Mm-hmm.
and then when he lost his chorus, he had to become a little bit more humble. He was so confident. He's like, oh, I've done this millions of times. I've never failed,
Yeah. We talked about this in episode. He comes from a place where this is just normal, where it's not something that is different that has to be compensated for. They figured that out long ago, how to integrate the non-hearing and the hearing into a society together that works for everyone.
Yeah.
They don't speak in any terms we might use today, like ability and disability. Those words exist nowhere in dialogue.
Mhm.
Control F, 0.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, instead, Riva talks about turning a disadvantage into an advantage. And I really like that framing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, especially for the time that this episode is from.
Yeah.
I thought Riva's approach to finding some common ground between groups who are at odds was inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And it really made me think about leadership and managing people on your team who are having trouble working together.
Yeah. Because people are different and you can't fix that, and you don't need to fix it.
Right.
You just have to figure out how to
Coexist.
coexist. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that little bit at the end where Picard tells Troy, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That really resonated with me again as a leader, but not only because it carries the theme of the episode sort of all the way right up to the end credits, but also thinking about leadership and making sure that people that you work with know you appreciate them and what they do. And it's easy to slip into that comfortable idea of like, oh, they can tell how I feel.
Yeah. Oh, I've given them a raise. They don't need, of course, I I've shown them with money that I appreciate them, but it's nice for somebody to fucking tell you to your face that,
yeah,
hey, you did a good job,
Yeah. Allie, thank you. You're a great podcast partner.
Aw,
I love doing this.
I love doing this with you too. This is where I want to spend my Sundays.
Your favorite thing to do on Sundays is put some people in the ground. Do we have anybody dead this week?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we do. I wrote a rhyme about it. You want to hear it?
Yeah, yes.
Hey, okay, here it goes.
We're here together to honor our friend and comrade. We will all find time to grieve for her in the days that are ahead. But for now, she has asked that we celebrate her life with this.
Yo, let me take you back to TNG. The diplomat Riva, deaf as he could be, but his words weren't his own. No, he had a whole crew. A chorus of three made his every thought true. They spoke his peace, his anger, his love, a symphony of voices sent from above. There was scholar and warrior, the other slipped my mind, but there were his interpreters, one of a kind. Then war broke out, them Solari boys, some stupid ass sniper shaking with noise. One shot, pew pew, right through the air. The whole damn chorus, just like that, nowhere. But then comes someone from the other faction, pulls out his heater, and he kills the assassin. Is it too late for peace? Because Riva has left, and they cry after him with instant regret. Word to your mother.
Rest in peace, the chorus.
Rest in peace, the chorus.
We can handle all the pleasantries later. Now, let's get down to business.
I am willing to pay handsomely for you.
I think you've had a little too much to drink.
Now, what do you know about my money?
Your money?
The money he stole!
You stole his money?
Those vouchers I gave you were every bit as good as Latinum.
You can spend Latinum almost anywhere. Those vouchers are only good at your bar.
All right. Well, as always, we want to thank all of our patrons who support the show. A special thank you to our founding admirals at patreon.com/humanisttrek, whose support really, really keeps this show going. A special thanks to Allie, Peter, Sarah, Bruce, and the Bear and Cured podcast. Thank you so much for supporting this silly podcast.
Thank you, guys.
Captain, Starfleet Academy is requesting an update on our estimated arrival.
Finalists, please take your seats.
I must admit you have a very fast mind.
Once I realized it was a trick question, there was only one answer.
Although only one student will be chosen for the Academy, any of you could easily qualify. Candidates, good luck.
You got called to the superintendent's office. It's a story I'd like to hear.
All right, Becca's back now with the answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge for Loud as a Whisper. Remind us first, though, the question.
Marty Musselman played Harmony of Riva's chorus and is the wife of a Star Trek actor that she shares a son with, who also appeared in Trek. 4 points for the taking.
We know this. We know this now, but I swear to God, if you have Marty Mossman on the line right now to give us the answer,
No!
Oh, man.
So yeah, you were both wrong.
I had an opportunity to show the captain my superior capabilities, and I failed. I can never recover from that.
But it's John Delancey who played Q.
Yep.
And their son Keegan played
that's his name.
Q2.
I knew
in
that.
Voyager.
I knew that, but I didn't connect it.
I should have known that. Yeah. Oh, well.
We have a listener guess. Bear says, loud as a whisper, I'm surprised Sarah doesn't know this. She is John Delancey's wife who played Q, and their son played Q's son in Voyager. I don't know the son's name. Something Delancey, I imagine.
Yeah. Keegan Delancey.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Great guess.
Bear wins this week. Well done, Bear.
Yeah.
Next time, we'll be reviewing Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 6, The Schizoid Man. A brilliant but terminally ill scientist seeks eternal life by transferring his mind into Data's body. I do not remember this one very clearly at all.
Sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Data. I mean, I think I remember that happening a couple of times at least, but I don't remember specifics.
All right, hit us. What's the question?
In this episode, we see a multi-person landing party with what interestingly random demographics?
They're all female, which I don't think that's possible.
No. No, I don't think so either. There are no humans. Maybe
Ooh.
How many? I'm surprised you didn't. How many? Tell me, like, oh, there's 6 people in the landing party. 1 point for each one you name, or whatever bullshit.
It's not that kind of question.
I know, but that's what you usually do to us. So,
do you want to know how many people are in the party?
So I would say.
Would that help you?
Yeah.
Okay. 4.
Well, that makes it harder.
If I wish I could remember the episode, and because I don't, where did they go?
Right, I don't know. I don't know anything about.
Maybe they were all non-white characters, like. But then there's Geordi, there's Worf, and that's it.
And some UCs. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the all Black Panther party. Like I'm totally wrong because I have no clue. So that's my funny answers.
Okay, you're going with a non-white landing party. I'm going with a non-human landing party. And if you want to go with a landing party, you know how to do that. Head out to your social media, share this episode, use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, or send us an email or a voicemail, or tell us on the Discord or in the Patreon. There's lots of ways to get in touch with us. We'll pick out a winner, and next time we'll talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 6, The Schizoid Man.
Yo, going to your house.
Make it so, number 1.
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcast. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.